Hi, this is Pete Lyons with another Let's Play Salesforce video, and today we're continuing our coverage of Winter 18 spoilers for Einstein Analytics. But before we can do that, we have to blast through our safe harbor slide. I don't work for Salesforce, I don't speak for Salesforce, I always make purchasing decisions based on currently available technologies. I do not do this as a representative of my employer, this is my hobby. I hope you like it even a fraction as much as I do. If you do, like, subscribe, tell a friend, share, and watch more stuff. So the first new feature that we're going to be covering tonight, if it's not too meta, are the release notes themselves. And here we're looking at the Summer 17 release where our mascot is two condescending seagulls. But if we roll forward to the Winter 18 release, we see that our mascot is now a reclusive Yeti. What does this mean for the two cute little penguins that are shaking hands when we log into our GSO org? Well, I really don't know. My hope is that they're going to help this Yeti come into his own. We're going to get rid of that little preview box, and then they can all go skiing with Astro. Wouldn't that be cute? So what do we really have here? We have yet another release with over 100 pages of documentation for new features in analytics that we get to benefit from. Make sure to read these notes thoroughly, be release ready, and remember, as long as that preview box is over the Yeti, take everything that you see here with a grain of salt because these features are still evolving. We don't know what the final product is going to be until it is published. So I don't actually record these videos all on the same day typically, and here I am several days after recording that, and I've come to learn that the reclusive Yeti is in fact Astro in disguise. What does this mean for the penguins? Well, I don't know, but I hope they were delicious. So I'm not going to go too much into depth on this next stuff, for this video is never getting published, but there's a couple of features in the edit dataset screen that I just cannot pass up. So looks like this whole interface has got a big overhaul. One thing that I want to call your attention to is this usage section. We can now see what dashboards, lenses, and data flows, etc., recipes are actually leveraging a given data set and the last time that they were accessed. There's two really cool things this is going to allow for. One, when you go to delete a data set, it's sometimes very difficult to trace down all the different places that it's referenced so that you can disconnect it to properly delete it. Then the other aspect of this is that by being able to see the last access date, we can actually tell which data sets are being leveraged, which is the first opportunity that we have to really track user adoption outside of event monitoring. Now, one thing I do need to call out about this does not get us around assets stored in users' private folders. We still don't really have a good workaround for that. I did see something interesting on the community lately that if you move a data set into an app and then delete that app, it will delete the data set regardless of whether or not it's being leveraged by assets in private folders. I have not tested that myself. I just saw that today. Shout out to the guys at HMH for figuring that one out. But yes, so we need to be able to preserve a user's privacy while still also being able to allow an admin to control the precious resource of your data cap. And today there just isn't a good solution yet. It's not that no one is trying to get this done. It's just that there are two very opposing things that need to be balanced. The other thing I want to point out on this is that we now have this restored dataset feature. I haven't exactly been running my data flow a lot in this org, so there's only one version here, but we can now actually roll a data set back to a previous version. For example, if we update a data set via external CSV, and let's say we're using dataset utils and doing an append operation. We accidentally double load the new data, resulting in duplicate rows. We don't have to do a full reload. We can actually just roll that back a couple of versions. Alternate methods usually involve running some kind of purge script by flagging your dupes, etc., etc. This can be extremely tedious. This is just going to be a one-click operation. Really glad to see this feature. A major functional gap has been resolved with this release. That's right, recipes can now be migrated between environments using either change sets or packages. We just click the drop down and there it is. Oh, I'm so glad about this one. Alright, it's finally time to start digging into some SAQL functionality here. So to start, I'm going to create a simple table. I'm going to get rid of all the columns I don't want. I just want date, branch, and amount. If I convert this to SAQL, this is the query that it's going to be running. The first new SAQL function that we're going to be talking about is number to string, and this is basically the long requested me to dim. This is going to allow us to convert numbers back and forth to strings, and this is really cool. We've been asking for it for a long time. Guess what? Now you got it. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to number to string, and it takes two arguments. The first argument is going to be the column that we're converting. Second argument is going to be a text string that indicates the format that we want these numbers to come over in. And so that's going to be semicolon delimited. On the left side, we're going to have our positive value, and on the right side, we're going to have our negative value. So we're going to do $, and then I'm going to do hashtag, comma, hash, 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 dot, 00. This is to say that my 1000 separator is a comma, and I always want to display two positions after the decimal, regardless of the value of the number. And then for the negative value, I'm just going to copy that, add a negative, and paste that in. Now, when I hit run query, it's going to look like it breaks, but it really doesn't. So the reason why here is not that the query is not executing correctly, it's that we're not actually telling it to display anything. So if we take a look at our JSON editor, I don't know if this is an oversight or something that we're going to see, or maybe a bug, but I noticed that the number, group, and string parameters are not being populated. And if I want to get anything up on the screen, I am going to need to put values in there. So I'm going to add branch, and then I'm going to add amount. I'm going to put that in quotes, and then add date. And voila, there is our table. Nicely formatted numbers. Pretty cool. So pretty cool that we can convert numbers into strings, but can we do the same in reverse? Well, yeah, because this release, SAQL updates are all about giving us the ability to change metadata types on the fly within the dashboard level. So let's take a look at that, hop into our code editor here. Now we're going to take this string that we've just created, we're going to convert this back into a number. Now before we can do that, we're going to need to get rid of anything in the formatting that is going to return a non-numerical character or anything that's not a decimal point. So these $signs and 1000 separators, they got to go. So let's take a look at what that's going to give us. Now we've got just flat numbers. This is going to convert nicely to a number. So now we're going to enclose all of this in the string to number function. And an important thing to not forget, we do have this currently listed as a string. We're going to need to get it out of there and move it up to the numbers. There we go. And now it's been converted back into a number, and it's auto formatting with 1000 separators as per whatever we've got in our XMD. So it seems like we've pretty much got the ability to convert between all the fundamental data types now. And when it comes to dates, we've always had the toString function, which allowed us to take a date and turn it into a string. And that hasn't gone away, but it has been renamed as dateToString. And the function is exactly the same. It's just rebranded to be a little bit more consistent with the other cast functions that we've been given with this release. The only net new one that we're seeing on dates is going to be the ability to convert a date into a number using the dateToEpoch function. Now let's do exactly what the release notes tell us, and we're just going to take our dateToEpoch function and pass in our date. Now this is going to throw an error. And specifically the error is that we have invalid arguments for function toDate. It does not tell us what kind of arguments that it actually wants, but using a little deductive reasoning from where else we've seen different wonkiness with how dates behave, I'm thinking that I need to convert it to a date first using the toDate function, and that natively it's just looking at this as a string. So let's try that. So toDate, when spelled correctly, takes two parameters. The first is the date field in question. The second is going to be the format that the string is currently in, and it is in year, month, day. So if we take our date, convert it to an actual date with, and pass in the format, and then convert that to an epoch, this is what we get, which is the actual epoch seconds. I don't know about you guys, but in the past, I've always had to do things like days between my date and 1970 multiplied by the number of seconds in a day just to be able to achieve this. Really cool. Another thing that they've added is dates now support max and min aggregate functions. And to do that previously, I would have to do said calculation and then try to figure out which is the max and min of that number. So really cool. This is going to make everybody's lives a lot easier. So that's all that I have for tonight, but that is by no means all that Winter 18 has in store for us. I will be doing follow-up videos. I find it extremely unlikely that I will be able to cover everything that it has in store, but just to name a few things, we've got additional functionality for maps, such as zooming to only show areas that actually have data, new projections that unfortunately do not include Buckminster-Fuller's Dymaxion projection. We have new connectors that are going to allow us to access data in a broader selection of external sources declaratively. We have a new export transformation in the Dataflow editor. This node type is going to allow us to push data from datasets into Einstein Data Discovery for further analysis and hopefully in subsequent releases beyond there. We also have new SAQL expression functionality that's going to be available in the compute relative transformation. We have the apex step, which really breaks down every wall of what we thought was possible and just opens up the entire playing field. We have updates to the SDK. We have updates to mobile. We have so many updates. We have updates to our updates, and I will be updating my updates with new updates as they update. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, hit me up and endorse me on LinkedIn for stubborn determination. And as always, thanks for watching.